Welcome to the Modern CPA Success Show, the podcast dedicated to helping accounting firms stay ahead of the curve. Our mission is to provide you with the latest and greatest insights on cutting-edge tools, innovative marketing strategies, virtual CFO services, and alternative billing methods. Join us as we change the way people think about accounting.
Hello, everybody. Happy Halloween. This is probably my favorite podcast of the year. I'm very excited to rank Halloween movies with my three close friends here. And as you can see, some of us participated in dressing up a little bit, and some of us did not. But we're really excited to go through a snake draft of Halloween movies and talk about which movies are our favorite. I'm sure we'll have some heated discussions along the way. We already have been pre-showing for 5 minutes, and Adam has already insulted two of my top 5 picks already. So we'll see how the rest of this draft goes. But so before we get started, I just want to do a quick introduction of everybody. We're going to do that introduction in draft order. So we'll talk about people's what their history is with scary movies and kind of their thoughts on scary movies, and then people will also say what they're dressing up for this year for Halloween. So our first pick is going to be Hannah Hexed Hood. We'll be picking first today. So Hannah, why don't you tell us a little bit about your history with scary movies?
Yeah, so I told Jamie earlier this week that I'm the least qualified person to be participating in this draft because I don't watch scary movies. I have, in fact, seen some, but I don't watch them, which feeds into part of my costume here. I'm a walking red flag. Like, these are my, like, what some people might identify as my own red flags. The first of which being doesn't watch scary movies on here. I also have... hasn't seen Star Wars or The Office, and takes 3 to 5 business days to respond to text on here, amongst being a Swiftie and liking pineapple on pizza. So walking red flag over here is what I went with. I think I should get extra points just because I participated. So there's that. But yeah, I should probably not be participating in this, but I can't wait to take away scary movies from y'all that I've never even seen before just to make you mad. So this is going to be great.
Very excited. Okay, so the second pick is going to be Adam Haunted Hale. So Adam, why don't you tell us about your experience with scary movies, and then also, since you didn't dress up today, tell us what your Halloween costume is going to be.
I dressed up as Jamie today, so I don't know what you guys are talking about. I can't help that you don't like my costume.
No. Keep going.
Crazy. I like the crazy hair with the mask. Oh no, the crazy hair with the mask was a good look. Yeah, I mean, so for me, it's all about 80s movies. So in 80s, you can kind of break them down into 3 categories. So you had like the big picks, like, like Back to the Future. You can see my DeLoreans in the back. Those were obviously classics and stuff. But then you had 80s action films. So the cornier, the better. We're talking about like Delta Force 6 and all these kind of stuff. And then there were scary movies. And so it was... every weekend it was going to Kelch or the local store. It was never Blockbuster because they were too expensive. Grab you 2 or 3, 2 for 89-cent videos and watch you some classic horror movies. So I've got tons and tons, but they generally are slashers. And that's what I kind of consider horror movies.
Awesome. No, what are you going for this year for Halloween?
I always go as Michael Myers. He's like my favorite killer. So, and he's just cooler because, like, with Freddy, you got to have a little bit of personality. With Michael, you can just stand about 200 feet away from a bunch of kids behind like a fence or by a thing. And I'm already kind of a bigger guy anyway. And I have the whole mechanic suit and the mask, and I can just kind of sit off into the distance and watch all the kids like slowly move to the other side of the street. And so it's always fun.
Nice. All right, so the third pick of the draft is going to be Joey killing Kenny. So we'll tell us a little bit about your scary movie history, and then also it sounds like you don't get a ton of kids, but maybe I'll force you to dress up this year.
Yeah, so we not a big Halloweenie, should we say? I am a Halloweenie. Not great at Halloween, not great at scary movies. Little known fact about me, I was scared of the dark until I was about 9 years old. Not really proud of that. I also will point out that I like how Hannah tried to sneak in that pineapple on the pizza bit there, like right at the very end, as if we weren't going to clue into that. But yeah, that should have been number 1 on your red flags list.
I love pineapple pizza.
It's a green flag for me personally, but other people might think of it as a red flag.
Sure.
I do. Yeah, Jamie, that
Yeah.
makes sense. That tracks.
It does track.
So, I don't watch a ton of scary movies. There is a theme to my draft board. Like I put a lot of thought into this as someone who knows a lot of people who are Halloween enthusiasts. So I'm like Halloween adjacent. So I've spent a lot of time thinking. I'm very prepared for this. I think I'm going to come out a winner if you pick up the theme that I'm putting down. I do tend to agree with Adam. Like the slasher stuff is good. Scares me a little bit because it could happen, but for me it's like hauntings and those types of things. I have a whole bit on this later. I'm just gonna kind of set the table for this, but when I make a pick, I'll explain why this is my pick. So, anyways, I'm happy to be here, and we'll take nominations from the crowd for what I should be for Halloween. I will crowdsource that option.
Sweet, we'll have to figure something out for you. Awesome. So then picking last is me. So I gave myself the nickname of Nightmare. So Jamie Nightmare Na. Very excited. Horror movies are really my thing. I enjoyed participating in the Christmas draft and winning that draft. But this one is what I was really. Wait. This is the one I'm really looking forward to. I've been watching horror movies since I was probably way too young and watching stuff that I probably shouldn't have been watching. And then at the same time with kids, just waiting for them to be old enough to watch anything. And my daughter got into them first, and she has taken me to some movies where I'm like, wow, that was a lot. And my son kind of participates because he doesn't want to be at home doing chores while we're watching scary movies. So he participates. But my daughter's definitely the slasher scary movie watcher with me, and she finds all these movies. So I'm very excited. I did a lot of research as well. I tiered my movies out, and I'm ready to kind of go through this. But before we start, the one thing that I thought was interesting about this draft versus the Christmas draft is when I did my research, I'm sure Adam didn't do any research. When I was kind of looking through horror movie lists, I looked at 4 or 5 of them, and they were all completely different. There were movies that were 1 or 2 on some that were 90 on others. So it's I think this is going to be an interesting draft because I think there are a wide variety of opinions on horror movies. So I think this will be a fun draft in that sense. When you did the Christmas movie research, it was, a lot of movies were top 10 were very similar. So I think this will be interesting from that sense. And then the other part that I want to make sure the audience knows, for those that listen to our Christmas list, we are not grouping movies. I thought there's too many movies within series. So the way we did it for Christmas is if you picked Home Alone, you got all the Home Alones. Or here, if you picked one Halloween, you got all the Halloweens. I think there's too much of a drop off in some of the movies that didn't make sense to have. If you pick one Halloween, you get all 60 of them. So we're gonna have to pick individual movies instead of the whole series. So that's a couple of ground rules here to make sure the audience knows how we're handling this.
Jamie, I'm just going to throw out there's a difference between natural talented players and people that have to practice a lot. I know you're a big basketball guy. You're right. No preparation, no practice. I mean, it sounds like you all have been doing some investigation and trying to figure this stuff all off the top of my head here. So let's play.
Well, let's go. All right. So Hannah, start us off.
Okay, so I actually am going to start with one that I have seen, and I think probably kept me from watching more scary movies. But my first one is, so wait, back up. Are we starting are we ranking these? Am I starting with my number 1 pick right now, or are we doing 10 to 1?
We're going 5, right? So we're picking 5 each. So if you pick something now, no one else can pick it. So you want to make sure you pick something that you're afraid someone else might pick. So you really want to get your best movie first.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll stick. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll stick with this one. Okay. The Ring. That's my pick. Terrified me. Didn't sleep for days. Not a fan.
Anyone's thoughts on The Ring? Who's seen The Ring? I know I've seen it. Adam, have you seen The Ring?
Pretty lame, especially the ending. But yeah, I mean, it was okay. I've seen the other 4 variations of The Ring as well. What was the one that just recently?
Stopped at one. That was it.
Smile, and Smile is basically The Ring. And there's another one that just came out.
Talk to Me, kind of like that.
It Follows Me or something like that too. Yeah, There's a bunch of them,
Well, I enjoyed The Ring, so it was on my list. I have my list ranked by like, if it's there, I'll take it, and that was definitely one of those. But I did remember that movie from high school, and it was a thing for sure. Like we all went together as a big group, and it really did enjoy it at the time. But again, it's kind of fallen out of my top ones. But good solid pick to start off.
In your top 5, I'm going to say you got Blair Witch Project, Jamie.
Who, me?
All right. I don't have that in my top 5. Nope.
Okay.
I'm just gonna say that's the worst movie on the board.
Okay.
I'm just gonna say it.
For me, you got to go with The People. So, I mean, the number one like scary dude is definitely Freddy Krueger. He's in your sleep. He's in your dreams. Like, if now, granted, number 2 wasn't very good. 1 was an ultimate classic. The first 5 minutes like terrified you. I was a small child. Dream Warriors, fantastic. Whenever they re-envisioned him later and they came back as like real, like you just can't beat Freddy and Nightmare on Elm Street. So
you're taking the original? Are you taking the original off the board?
Yeah, I'll take the original off the board, even though Dream Warriors and the whenever he came back was up there too. But I'll go with number 1.
Okay, that's one of the original scary movies I watched of my life. And I remember like I was begging my parents for so many years to watch it, and they went out of town for some reason. And then my sister was like, all right, we're watching it. And I didn't sleep for a week. So like that was one of the original
because you couldn't sleep. That's the whole point. That's the problem with that movie.
And that's why I love scary movies. Is like I feel like fear is the one emotion that you can't fake and you can't hide. And like once you are afraid, like it overtakes you. And like as an older person, I don't get afraid that often, but I remember being scared to death of Nightmare on Elm Street, the original. So
my blood tests are the only thing that scare me these days.
Exactly.
You're an old man now. That's what happens.
Yep. All right, Joey, you're up.
All right, so this is a bit of a personal one for me. So I will explain this pick and how this pick still influences me to this day. So I am taking Amityville Horror off the table, the original one from 1979. One of my biggest fears to date, still at 37 years old, is I am terrified of existing in a haunted house. So whenever we are going on vacation, whenever we're doing anything, we will figure, and I do this even with the stuff that we do here in town, like for the company. I will figure out where we're staying. And the very next thing that I will do is I will type that hotel in and I will put haunted behind it. And I will double check to make sure that there's no TripAdvisor things or anything where anybody's talking about haunted hotels, haunted houses, all of these things. It is my biggest real life fear because I saw Amityville Horror when I was a kid.
I have in fact lived in a haunted house.
Me too.
And
so is my wife. She lived in one and she's like, oh yeah, there was totally ghosts. And I was like, yep, nope, I'm out.
And Adam doesn't believe in ghosts. I'm going to say it for him.
No,
if you experience the things that I have, it would change.
I think those are in your head. Those are, I don't know, ghosts to me, like, don't get me wrong, like I like a good ghost, exorcist and stuff like that, but like the devil stuff, but it's all kind of lame. I don't know. I actually liked Ryan Reynolds' version better than I liked the original personally.
Yeah.
The personal one was a little bored on.
There's a funny thing. I was in Oregon with a bunch of boys this summer for a basketball camp, and they wanted to watch scary movies every night. And I was throwing everything at them. And they're like, that was okay. That was good. And then they watched that Ryan Reynolds Amityville Horror, and I was like, that was the scariest of all of them. And I'm like, really? Okay. That was kind of interesting to me. But yeah, that one still holds up a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I know everybody likes the original, but sometimes people are just obsessed with originals. And to me, I thought, and again, it was a little bit before my time. So sometimes whenever you go back and you watch those like quality of movies, you're just like, ugh.
There is something to be said, and Jamie, you alluded to this pre-show, where the depth of movie here, like it's the original thing that you could do on film, right? Even in the silent film days, like you could have somebody standing up there with a knife, and it's like, oh, that's going to translate. But the quality of movie has significantly, increased in our lifetime from the ability from special effects and other things to like actually create something super scary. That's why, again, the Nightmare on Elm Street, like that was terrifying because all it needed was a dude just being big and physical and intimidating. But we have better.
Did it? But
what's that?
Face. I said the sharp knife's the burnt face, and then it showed up in your dreams.
Sure, yeah, all of the above. But you don't need special effects to do that. You can do that. We could do that in the 70s. and have a similar experience to 2024. Other things like a haunted house story, you're going to execute better in a modern day film. So definitely an added wrinkle.
So I still have all of my top 5 left. So like again, this draft is going just how I wanted it to. But I'm going to start with one of those classics. I'm going to go with The Exorcist.
Ooh, okay.
I think it's a tough horror movie not to. Did you guys miss it because I cut out?
No, we got it
here. Okay, so I'm going with The Exorcist. So this is the one movie I won't let my kids watch yet, because there's certain sexual scenes that I don't think they should be seeing even at their age. But The Exorcist is one that just like it is spooky from start to finish, and it is a classic, and I think it kind of started the whole real horror trend. So that's what I'm going with my first pick, and I'll let you guys pick it apart for a second before I make my second pick.
You screwed up, dude. If you were going that route, Poltergeist has Exorcist.
Poltergeist is in my list for sure.
Okay. Poltergeist was like legit scary. You want to talk about haunted house, haunted ground, the TV thing, like Poltergeist was way better than Exorcist.
I watched it on a plane a couple weeks ago, so I'm a big Poltergeist guy, but that is not my number 2. Any other comments on Exorcist?
Y'all just keep using adjectives that I would never put with scary movies. That was great. That was awesome. That was good. Best movie ever. It's just like I would never, ever.
I definitely think it's, again, one that maybe doesn't, if you're taking the original, maybe doesn't hold up as well on a rewatch, but it is one of those ones where you'll remember the first time you saw it and it will stick with you.
Definitely. I think it holds up pretty well.
Yeah.
My opinion, because I'm a nerd about this stuff. Okay, so the second one, again, I think I'm picking 2 movies that there's a lot of people that put in their number 1. The second one is The Shining. A Stephen King book, obviously, and a movie that just is obviously about a person that goes crazy, but there's also a lot of stuff that goes into it in a very well-made movie. And one that my daughter watched and at the end looked him over and was like, "What the hell was that?" That's how the best way to describe The Shining.
Woke up at the end and was like, "Oh, that's what it was."
Nope, she was very attuned to it.
Have you watched the second one? Also,
no, I'm not.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, Jack Nicholson's awesome. And, you can't beat the red rum, but the other 2 hours was like, huh.
I definitely.
How does your proximity to the fictional universe where that takes place, does that play into that at all, knowing that, like, because doesn't it take place in the Colorado mountains?
Yeah, it does.
Or it doesn't filmed there?
No, it was filmed there. I think it takes place there. I don't think it was actually filmed. Actually, it was filmed there, but it doesn't take place there.
Okay, I couldn't remember where it is.
Yeah, it was one of the 2.
Where, like, you're driving the road from Denver and you're on 70 going west, and you occasionally see this place and you're like, that looks like The Shining, and it is a little creepy.
So it's based on a hotel in Colorado, but a lot of it was filmed there. But that hotel like that does not exist here.
Right.
Yeah. All right, Joe, you're up.
Okay, I am again going to take one. Hopefully, this might be coming off of Adam's list. I don't know. He might beef with me after this. We'll see. I'm taking the Texas Chainsaw Massacre off the board.
Sucker. Yep.
Oh, get out of here, man! Yep. Come on.
Not even close. I'll tell you why. I was gonna throw you why that one is not the one ever. I will give you the beginning scene whenever they first get taken, whatever. Leatherface is kind of a joke. You totally messed up, though. The like-kind movie that is way more gruesome, way more terrifying. Rob Zombie's House of a Thousand Corpses. It's basically Texas Chainsaw Massacre if it was cool. Like, if it was like super graphic, I mean, almost disturbing graphic, but funny at the same time. The characters are like all of those times 10. So if you haven't seen, and then I would also say the third one sucked, but Devil's Rejects is right behind it. And that one's pretty good too. You can't beat Captain Spaulding. If you haven't seen House of a Thousand Corpses, he's this like big old clown dude, but it's basically Texas Chainsaw Massacre if it was like a great movie. I would almost even say the remake of Texas Chainsaw Massacre was better than the original, which will offend some people, but the remake was really good.
The remake wasn't bad. That's the one that I saw first. in the early 2000s with Jessica Biel and all them. And then I went back and saw the original. I was like, okay, I get the thing. Again, I will sit there though and defend the idea. Say what you want about the execution. The idea behind Texas Chainsaw Massacre is one of those things where it's like, existentially, what is more terrifying than someone chasing you around with a chainsaw? And you're like, I can literally do nothing.
Go watch House of a Thousand Corpses. Tell me that movie does not scare you more. It's the exact same kind of thing, only it's pretty brutal. So
is that your next pick, Adam? Or do you have something else in mind for number 2?
I thought about House of a Thousand Corpses, but I'm going to really throw people off here. And I'm going to go with Halloween. And so you say, of course you're going to go with Halloween. He's your favorite guy, Michael Myers is. And
the comedian?
Exactly. But I am not going with the original Michael Myers.
Mm-hmm.
I am going with the remake, the Rob Zombie version.
Oh, wow.
The first one. The very first Rob Zombie one. His second one was okay, but his first one was masterpiece. Because similar to Freddy, how you can't beat his originality, of course, you have to take into consideration music. And no scary movie has better music. Not even Jaws, because if you're going to throw Jaws on my list, I'm going to throw up in my mouth. But if you put Jaws in the list for a Halloween movie, that's a good summer flick. Great movie. I love Jaws. Not a horror movie.
Not on my list either.
But as far as music goes and horror movies, Halloween is number one. And whenever Rob Zombie redid it, if you have a home theater system, he THX that thing. The bass is just in your soul whenever you're watching that movie. He kind of explains him as a little kid and why he turns bad instead of the whole thing getting skipped over in the original. Just saying.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to disagree with that pick. But you might as well have picked the third Halloween movie where Michael Myers isn't even in it. What is it, The Witching Night or whatever that one's called?
Yeah.
Well, you might as well pick that one if you're going to pick Rob Zombie's version. But
is there a more appropriate stage name though than Rob Zombie? I feel like that just fits him very, very well across all facets of his personality.
Oh, I don't think that's a scary movie.
Adam's doing his research now.
Yeah.
While he's doing that, Hannah, let's go to your next pick here.
Okay, I'll go to mine. I've not seen this all the way through, but I've seen enough of it to know I do not want to see it all the way through. And that is the Blair Witch Project. I will never be watching that.
Told you somebody picked that.
It's not. I can't do it. Nope. Mm-mm.
So, Adam, were you old enough to believe that it was thought it was real when it came out, or were you just not even paying that much attention to movies at that time?
I was in college whenever that came out. I remember I went to a little old theater downtown and watched it, and it made me so dizzy that I was like, get me out of here. This
nauseated.
And then it got to the end of the movie and I was like, why did I stay this whole time?
Yeah, there's a big difference if you watch that movie
cam?
and think it's real than if you don't think it's real. If you thought, again, in your heart you knew it wasn't real, and in your heart you knew they weren't going to show a snuff film. But when it first came out, there were a lot of people that were like, I can't believe they're releasing this, and the whole buzz about that. So if you watched it at that time, it's a much better movie than if you're watching it today, where you're like, oh, okay, yeah, this is crap. That movie had a huge drop off from the first 2 weeks versus the rest of time. Sorry, Joey.
I don't feel like I ever remember thinking it was real, but it was enough that I was like, I ain't doing this. I ain't even giving myself the space to debate it. I'm out. I'm done.
Best scary snuff film though is 8mm with Nicolas Cage.
That's crazy.
Watch that one. That one's pretty bad.
That's nuts.
Take a guess. I've not watched it.
All right, Hannah, you get a second pick here as well.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay, so I'm going to go with The Sixth Sense. Again, one that I've seen some of, but not all of.
Mm-hmm. He's cool. I mean, I love a lot of his movies, but I don't know that.
See, there's that word again, love. There's no love.
But it wasn't scary. It was cool. You finally got to the end, and you're just like most of his movies, you kind of get bored throughout, and then you're just that's why I watched the movie. The opposite of Blair Witch. You're like, that was really cool. So
Just covering all my bases here, all of them.
Yeah. So you got anticlimactic, and then you got the one that actually like delivers at the end. Good call.
There you go.
Sorry, I missed it. My internet cut out. What'd you pick for that one?
Of course it did. The Sixth Sense.
Oh, that was definitely that's probably my sixth. So it's right on my top 5. But that movie, I loved it, and that was one where I figured it out during the movie. Like I figured out the secret halfway through the movie, and I was like, oh wait, he's not alive. And
Whoa!
she was so mad at
for people that hadn't seen the movie.
like 25 years later. I think we're okay. But yeah, I'll tell you the best way to watch that movie is to watch it with someone that hasn't seen it. So again, going back to my kids, like watching that with Olivia first because Alex wasn't ready yet. He was too scared. And then watching it again with Alex, like you just watch their face versus watching the movie. And then they look over at you and they're like, what? How? I didn't know that. And it's just such a fun movie to watch it with someone that hasn't seen it. So I'm with you. This is definitely a good one.
I don't think my kids could do like Tate, my 8-year-old, and I watched Hocus Pocus 2 last weekend, and he was like under the covers, like he's like, I can't watch this anymore. No, and I'm like, dude, it's really not that bad. So like, I just still think we could. I don't think we could do that.
Yeah, Olivia might have been 8 when she watched Sixth Sense.
Oh my gosh,
That's kind of parent I am. All right, Adam, you're up.
Trying to think. You said Stephen King. I mean, Maximum Overdrive was better. Same with has everybody seen Silver Bullet? That was like, as far as like werewolf. I'm trying to just grab somebody from different things because you also have like Pumpkinhead. Let's see, Vampires, Fright Night. That one was awesome. I'm gonna go with Silver Bullet since you threw out Stephen King. That one was really cool. If you haven't seen Silver Bullet and you don't know who the Coreys are, then shame on you. Turn this podcast off. But it also has.
So wait, I have to leave now.
I'll see myself out.
You don't know who Corey Feldman and Corey Haim are.
I do know who the Coreys are.
Yeah. So Silver Bullet is like, it's about a werewolf, and it has one of the greatest actors of all time in it, Gary Busey. Crazy Gary Busey. He's like the crazy uncle. In Corey Haim in the movie, he's in a wheelchair in the whole thing, and his wheelchair can go like 50 miles an hour. So as a kid, you're just like, this is the coolest thing in the world. So anyway, there was a couple of scary scenes in it, just like in Fright Night. That's more funny, but there was a couple of scary scenes in that. So for that reason, I'm going to pass on Pumpkinhead and Maximum Overdrive, and I'm going to go with Silver Bullet. Oh, but the other scary psycho one.
I want to save it because someone might pick it.
Yeah.
No, nobody's going to know. The guy from Twisted Sister, Strange Land. I'll pass on that one.
That's a pretty weird one.
That is a pretty weird one. I'll pass.
Yeah, one of the movies similar to Silver Bullet that's on my list, but it's a little bit later on my list, and I probably won't get to it, is Lost Boys, which is very similar, but instead of werewolves, it's vampires. So that one's.
I know. So I was trying to think werewolves, vampires, and then Lost Boys is also a classic.
All right, Joey, your turn.
Well, speaking of werewolves and vampires, I'm just gonna go ahead and take Twilight off the board.
I'm kidding.
What
That's a joke.
Okay, I was getting ready to type it. I'm like, wait a second.
Yeah, I was looking for the boot. One of us was leaving after that.
Adam's gonna come back and make Joey have 5 onboardings next week. Good luck, son.
Exactly.
All right, so I'm going to take one that feels like an iconic movie to me. Maybe not the scariest, maybe doesn't hold up well, but again, all of this will come full circle with my 5th pick. So I'm taking Scream off the board.
Damn it. That's what I was going to
that's on my list.
Taking Scream off the board. Name a more iconic, like if Jamie, if you said, Joey, you have to show up at work next week with a costume. Okay, great. You go to Spirit Halloween. Make all your money, best business model ever, make all your money in a month in an abandoned Sears, right? Grab a Scream mask, you're good to go. Little robe, you're set up. So iconic from that perspective. Most believable? I don't know. But it's a good flick. First time I watched it. So
which one, of course?
You picked the first one, I assume.
Oh yeah, I would take the first one.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm always going for the first one in the series.
Okay.
Yeah, that definitely is.
Because I haven't
a memorable
seen
film from my teenage high school years, going to see that in the theater, and that being again another like a pop culture thing for sure.
It stands up 25, 30 years later, whatever it was. Yeah.
Well, I'm shocked because I still have all my top 5 left, so this is easy for me. So now I just have to choose like how I'm gonna go through this. But the next one I have, I'm gonna go modern for these two, so that we're a little older with the first one. So the first one I'm gonna go with is Get Out. Obviously a newer movie, a little more of like a themed movie, but it definitely brought horror back again, where horror was kind of disappeared for a little while there, and I think Get Out definitely brought a new age to it. So I'm gonna go Get Out as my third pick.
Very underrated movie on the horror front. Everyone knows it's a great movie, but it, from a genre perspective, didn't get enough cred, in my opinion. So, love the pick. One of my favorites. Adam looks questioning.
No comment.
Yeah.
I know Adam's like, Get Out. I hate that movie.
Yeah,
You
it's
should
all right, but I don't know that I would. Yeah, it's not my definition of a scary movie.
So this next one will be your definition of a scary movie. And again, this is one I saw in the theater. The other thing I want to say about scary movies is like seeing something in the theater, the drop off from seeing it at the theater, even if you have the best home theater in the world, like there's a huge drop off versus seeing it at home. So seeing a horror movie in the theater just elevates it for me, especially. This one is It, the new It. Saw it in the theater with my brother-in-law, and we're both like, two former football players, big guys, and we're walking out of there like, wow, that was crazy. Like we were both like scared throughout that entire movie. So again, watched it at home with my daughter later on. It still was scary, but not as scary as seeing it in the theater. So the new It is my fourth pick.
Part 1.
I saw
Part 1. Yeah, Part 2 I struggle with a little bit, but Part 1 was amazing.
Agreed.
I saw a car. This was last weekend when we were in Tucson. There was a dude who put a hydraulic version of the clown in the bed of his truck. So like he would sit there and he would come up to a stoplight and you wouldn't see it there. And then all of a sudden it just boom, pop out of the bed of his truck and then slowly go back down.
That's cool.
And I was like, that is dedication to the craft.
All right, Joey, you're up.
All right. So I'm only going to say this next one once and you'll find out why here in a second. It's Candyman.
I was going to say Candyman. Damn it.
So the original, I assume.
The original, yeah.
Okay.
Saw that at my buddy Brent's house. Shout out to Brent Chapman. We watched that when we were in middle school, and I was just like, yeah, I've seen it once. Don't need to see it again. I'm good. But I remember being thoroughly freaked out and not wanting to look in mirrors for a while. So
I got a buddy that's like 6'5", 250 into this day. Whenever we go on like guys trip, anytime he's like near the bathroom, I always walk by and start saying Candyman, and he freaks out. He's like, "You can't play with that. Don't even talk." And I mean, he's dead
no,
serious.
You can't mess with it.
It's the ultimate sleepover movie for boys. In those days.
That's where we watched it.
Yeah, definitely a sleepover, and then like everybody trying to get their courage up to go into the bathroom and stand in front of the mirror by themselves in the dark, and then you mess with them the whole time they're in there. So yeah, it was definitely part of my childhood. All right, Adam, you're up.
Man, you guys took two of mine that I was thinking, because I was, again, going more characters and stuff. So Candyman was definitely iconic. I'm not going to go with Jason. Trying to think characters.
Yeah, I'm a big Jason guy. Jason was
okay, so similar. Okay, so it's been overplayed, kind of like Scream, but you have to appreciate like how Scream was like just really smart. I would say the same thing for Jigsaw, Saw. So the very first Saw, like they're all actually are okay, but like just like the original Saw was pretty smart. So I'm going to go with just trying to keep with my characters.
You don't want Saw 13 on the list?
Like I said, I can watch all of them. I've seen all of them. They're all okay, but like the smartness of the first one was similar to Scream, with the
smartness of it.
You just got to give it to them. So Saw. I
struggle a little bit with the torture porn stuff, like Saw and Terrifier and stuff like that. Like I end up having my eyes closed for like half the movie because I just don't want to see it. Like even some of the newer ones, like Talk to Me and Long Legs, where like they've had the people like bashing their heads against stuff and you can hear it. And I'm like, oh, that's disgusting. Like I almost struggle with it a little bit. So I do tend to avoid this true like torture stuff.
Terrifier is a different breed for sure. Like, that's a different level.
So with that said, Hannah's going to pick Terrifier. All right. You're up. Hannah.
Some of these y'all are saying, like, I have watched some of them. I keep coming back to some of them thinking maybe I'm an adult now. I can do this. And I, in fact, cannot do this with some of these movies. So I've tried. So this one I saw in the theaters, and it was right whenever 3D was coming out and the thing. So you wear the glasses and stuff. I'm the kind of person that I'll think through every irrational worst case scenario. All things can literally so irrational. So this is Final Destination 4.
The fourth one.
I saw.
Fourth one.
I'm pretty sure it was the fourth one. It may not have been the fourth one, but I'm pretty sure it was. It was not first. It was not. So yeah, saw it in 3D. So that made things flying off of trucks and stuff come at your face, and just it was awful. It was an awful experience. There's nothing good about it.
Adam, do you remember that we had an employee that worked with us, and she came from Anders, and she had the I don't know if she called it her death binder or what she called it. She basically kept track of people she talked to recently, and had all these notes in there. And,
Adam and I looked through it at one of the retreats. It's if I go missing.
Awesome. If I go missing binder, yeah. So that was interesting. When you said you think of all the worst case scenarios, I was going to ask you, do you have a am I missing binder?
When I saw that, I was like, maybe I should. This is a great idea.
Lots of hair and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it was crazy. No, the first one was really good. It had a good 9 Inch Nails song on there, Jamie. I know you're a big alternative guy.
I'm pretty sure I've seen that one too, but I picked this one because I saw it in 3D, and that made it even worse.
All right, Hannah, you also get your last pick.
Oh, dang, I forget. That's how this works. So sorry. Okay, so my last pick is gonna be oh man, there's still multiple on my list here. I think I'm gonna go with I Know What You Did Last Summer.
It's a good choice.
Mm-hmm. Again, another one I've seen pieces of, not all the way through.
So you didn't get Scream, so you picked that one. Is that the thought behind it, the second tier Scream movie?
Yes.
What was the other one? There was another one that was they did 4 of those types of movies all at the same time.
I definitely remember those two. I'm not sure.
There was one about urban legends. That was another one that was the same genre, the same. There was anytime they come out with something like that, they end up with 3 or 4 versions of it.
And I think an honorable mention show that again I would try to watch growing up because my mom would not let me watch it. So she'd be at work and I'd come home and I'd turn it on, and then I wouldn't be able to sleep, and I realized why she probably didn't want me watching it was Are You Afraid of the Dark?
I love that show.
I would try to watch that multiple times, and I was like, this is terrifying. I can't do it. So I would try mostly because I wasn't allowed to watch it, but
I was listening to another podcast about Sixth Sense, and they said that it was inspired by an episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark? So I went back and found that episode on YouTube and watched it. I'm like, that really was just a good show and a good idea for preteens. So I'm with you. All right, Adam, last pick.
Yeah, I was trying to think through people. Tales from the Crypt from a TV show standpoint, though, whenever you're talking about that kind of stuff. I think I'm gonna have to stay with my childhood here. Although number 3 was pretty solid, I'm gonna go with the very first Child's Play. That was pretty dark. It was way, thinking about Chucky, it was pretty dark. And you wouldn't think that you'd be scared of a little doll, but that doll was pretty freaky and inspired a lot of other movies. So whenever you think about impact, that's what
the head turning without it.
Yeah, it was all, So I would say the first Child's Play. So
wow, I loved the whole Child's Play series. Again, Adam and I are probably a year apart in age, and our childhoods were very similar. If I lived in Indiana or he lived in Colorado, we'd probably be hanging out at each other's houses a lot watching this crap, because it sounds like we had a very similar childhood.
As long as you're good with Van Damme and Chuck Norris, because whenever it wasn't Scary Movie Day, it was action movies. All those. Steven Seagal.
Best Chuck Norris movie, go. I have my answer.
What, Kickback, or what was that one where he did where he was the the guy that was helping the little kid from Sequence.
Sidekicks.
That's probably your favorite movie of all time.
100%. I've seen it 50, 11 times. There's no, as the young asthmatic kid who was into martial arts, yeah, I was right there.
Oh, that's Delta Force, dude. But yeah, no, that's but yeah.
I was gonna say Delta Force as well.
I knew what you were gonna say. Being so much younger, it's like, yeah, but that's your best action movie.
Chuck Norris movie, not the best action movie.
All right, Joey, you're up. Last pick.
All right, so some honorable mentions before we go through. We'll call this my personal outside looking in. Just shout out real quickly, Silence of the Lambs. Adam, I know you're poo-pooing it, but like Buffalo Bill,
I think it's a good movie.
Should be,
yeah,
the most terrifying person, and also, what a great performance from really everybody on the thing there. But thinking,
he was kind of old and out of shape, and he was in a cage the whole time. So no, he didn't really scare
Not the whole time.
The guy asking to move the couch at the beginning. Hey, can you help me move? Do you mind helping me move the couch?
I'm the Buffalo Bill.
Yeah,
I will occasionally have the Buffalo Bill song will occasionally come on my Spotify list, and I'm like, oh, here we go.
Speaking of Buffalo Bill, hold on, Buffalo Bill. Damn it, I lost it. What's the name of the candy cane, the truck driving one? You guys, seriously, candy cane with the guy from the racing movies had died, Paul Walker. Are you serious?
Oh, we were talking about, is that
Final Destination?
That's what I thought. Was it Final
Destination? No. But he wouldn't he?
Just Google machine.
Yeah,
talking about Into the Blue.
No, Into the Joyride.
That was a Paul Walker
Joyride. No, Joyride. If you haven't seen Joyride and you like Buffalo Bill's voice, he's this creepy truck driver that like follows him everywhere. It's a great movie. It's a classic. Watch Joyride if you haven't seen it. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
Joey, keep going.
No, we're good. Other ones here. Sleepy Hollow, the Johnny Depp version, always a great fall watch. Really enjoying Agatha All Along right now on Disney Plus. That's been a really fun thing if you're into the MCU. Rocky Horror Picture Show, always a great one just for the theater nerds out there. Practical Magic, shout out to my wife, that's her favorite movie of all time. And also the Goosebumps books, love those. But here's the theme that I've been building for. So I've got 4 movies on my list: Amityville Horror, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Scream, and Candyman, right? Every single one of those movies created a trope that was covered in my last pick, and I'm taking the whole franchise. I know you said we can't do it. I'm doing it anyways because no one else is taking 2 through 5. I'm taking Scary Movie off the board.
I knew that's where you were going at
100%.
You said
yes, it's great to be scared, but we should also
we'll
make fun of these things because none of it's serious.
But Rob threw some picks over in the chat, and he said The Howling. It was a terrible movie, Rob. But 7, I will give you that. That was a
7 is crazy.
Yeah. 7 is
nuts.
7 was fun. I guess fun might be the wrong word, but it was.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't fun, but that was a pretty freaky.
All of the words y'all have used are the wrong words. I don't know what you're talking about.
All right, so I still have my 5th pick in the last. It's like I could get my all top 5 here, but I'm gonna go away. So my 5th one was Silence of the Lambs. Like I love that movie. It's a classic. I went to the live Rewatchables podcast a couple weeks ago and watched them talk about it, and that obviously got me going on it again. And it's definitely a top 5 if you want to consider it horror movie. But I think I'm gonna
a thriller. Kick it out of the skin.
It is thriller too. Yeah, I mean, again, that's why I'm thinking about not picking it. I think I am going to go with Poltergeist because that is one that like it defines my childhood more than Silence of the Lambs. So I'm going to take Poltergeist over Silence of the Lambs. The other ones that I didn't get a pick were Hereditary, which again they just did another Rewatchables podcast on that, and I watched it for the first time and like pit in your stomach the whole time you're watching it because you're anticipating something that never happens, and so it's an interesting one. And then we talked about Smile, we talked about Talk to Me, we talked about Long Legs. There's just some more recent ones, but I had a pretty long list here that I didn't get to, but yeah, there was a lot. And the one that I thought I would have at the end because I thought you guys would be a little better drafters that no one would ever think of is Misery. And Misery is the first movie where I close my eyes. Like I'm like, and I've to this day I've never seen that scene where they do the ankle link.
Yeah, I saw that in theater. That was it wasn't scary, but like I mean you could obviously put most of Stephen King's collection up. You know what I mean? Like he was he's legit. But yeah, Misery was a great movie.
Yeah, that movie haunts me to this day. But Poltergeist was, like I said, I watched it on the plane trip to New York City and was watching it. And I'm just like, oh my god, that is such a great movie. It's so well done. The acting's good. The little kid, and then the whole backstory makes it even better with like, two of the actors dying in the next like 2 years, and the using real skeletons and like all the backstory in that movie just make it that much better. So
yeah, you got to think about iconic movies. Yes, I agree.
Cool. All right. So we did it. We made it through everybody's top 5 or 5 picks. And I think we were a pretty good list here. There's some that treated different than others. There's some I had on my do not draft list that were drafted and some that were talked about. But no, I think this was a really fun thing to do. And again, we know we might be the only ones that ever listen to this podcast, but we like having some fun sometimes and recording something like this. But appreciate everybody joining. Any final thoughts from anybody before we close the doors?
Yeah, I think there was a couple honorable mentions with Scream and with Poltergeist, so I'll give you guys kudos there. But pretty sure I won because, I mean, you need people and characters that just live in infamy. I mean, I think you should like play the Halloween music as we leave. Just just saying.
There we go. We can do that in the edit.
Rob can cue that in.
And any final thoughts from you?
Well, I just want to know that there's music in my ears.
Not that one.
When are we doing the
I just want
rom-com
to know how do we determine who wins this?
That's what makes it fun. Is like I think I won it, of course, and I think all my friends and family, most people that are listening, think I won it. But like everybody's allowed to have their own opinion. And if people want to comment either in the YouTube of this or elsewhere and say who they think won, that would be awesome. And maybe we'll even like get it in front of our coworkers and let them decide. Even though since Adam's boss, they'll probably pick him, even though his list is a little.
Well,
Just go blind list. Don't put names.
Blind list.
Yeah.
Here's my request. You got to put your age beside it, because if you're like 22 years old, you're not going to know what the heck I'm talking about on some of this stuff. So,
Strategy, man. Play to your audience.
Some of us play to win. That's just the difference. All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching this. And again, we had fun doing it. So hopefully everybody enjoys watching it.
Thanks, Jamie.
thanks.
Enjoy this podcast? Visit our website, summitcpa.net, to get more tips and strategy for achieving modern CPA firm success. We're here to be a resource in this ever-changing industry.